Alright, it's Liam. I want to thank everyone at the Oasis Podcast. As you were.
Hello and welcome back to the Oasis Podcast, the ultimate audio guide to Oasis. I hope you guys are all right. It's been a little while since I've podcasted. I hate it when you hear podcasts and they always start it by moaning how they apologise it's been so long since they've podcasted. But I don't know, it feels like I should do here because I've been on a good run doing one pretty much every week and it's been a couple of weeks now. So I thought it's worth just flagging that up. But yeah. It's been a busy old time here at Podcast Towers with all my many various children coming to the end of school years and all that sort of stuff. So it's all a bit busy, and also work. Something I've never talked about on here is the job I do, and I thought I'd just let you guys know what that is really before we go any further. And one of the reasons I've never mentioned it before is I was never really too proud of the company I worked for, and so I didn't really want to flag it. But what I do is I'm a independent financial advisor. So I give advice on investments and pensions and tax planning and all that sort of stuff. And the reason I thought I'd let you guys know this on here is it's obviously a mad time at the moment with what's going on with the interest rates shooting up and mortgages, investments, everything's very, very strange right now. If you need a financial advisor, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty smart. I can talk about Oasis well. I can talk about financial stuff just as well, if not better. So if you did want my help in any of that side of it, say my specialty tends to be investments, pensions, inheritance tax planning, that sort of thing. But yeah, whether it's mortgages or insurance or wills and power of attorney, anything like that, if I can't do it, I can put you in the right direction. So do feel free to get in touch. Just drop me an email, the normal email, oasispod@gmail.com. But then how mad would that if you had the Oasis Podcast guy as your financial advisor? Yeah, and as I said, sorry, the reason I've never really talked about it before is I wasn't particularly proud about the company I worked for. I was sort of restricted in what I could do. Now I'm an independent financial advisor again, and the company I'm working through, I'm really pleased. I'm really proud of them, and and I think we could do a good job for you. So do feel free to get in touch. Right, enough of that. Let's talk about some music, shall we? Not much Oasis chat today, actually, to be fair, although we are talking a lot of Britpop. I'm very pleased to be joined by Chris from Speakeasy. He's been to see Pulp and Blur, and also someone else as well, which we'll talk about in the last sort of week or so. And I was at Blur, and so I really wanted to talk to someone else that was at Blur. And the fact that Chris had gone to Pulp as well, that's absolutely ideal. And yeah, I just wanted to get an update from Chris as well on what was going on with Speakeasy. It's all gone a bit quiet over there, but Speakeasy fanzine is absolutely brilliant. There's a ton of back issues. They're not producing any right now, but you can go to Big Cartel or Speakeasy on any of the socials and you can get back issues, and I would recommend you do it because they're absolutely fantastic, and I feature in a couple of them, which is reason enough to buy it, eh? Plus also I was gutted, they did do a gig local to me in Oxford. The Kind and the Institutes played at the Jericho Tavern. I couldn't make it, which was really frustrating because it would have been great to get down there and support both the bands and the Speakeasy guys. Really good people. All right, so we're going to come back after this interview in a bit, and we've got a couple of messages, and we'll talk about a couple of other bits of sort of Oasis news. But Bowden from Speakeasy, how you doing, man?
Good, I'm good. A little bit tired. It's been a busy couple of weeks, and not helping getting in at 2 o'clock this morning, and the mother-in-law ringing us up at 7 this morning didn't help. But other than that, all good, all good.
Oh, so it's been a pretty we were just saying on the Discord, it's been sort of pretty mad week with various bands on tour. Obviously we've got the Gallagher boys at various points. Liam has just come back and done a show in, I think it was called Mad Cool Festival over in Spain. So yeah, by the sounds of it, that was pretty good. And obviously Noel's been doing his thing in America still. But yeah, so you've had
Yeah,
a busy week.
I saw that the gig with Garbage the other night got postponed just before Noel came on stage, potentially a bomb threat or something. I think I read.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't read, to be honest. I saw it on pop up either on our Discord or on Twitter, and I've not seen anything else about it. I meant to look that up actually. I don't know what happened in the end, but yeah, you'd be a bit gutted, wouldn't you? Because I think that's now into the like the Noel headline part, because it was Garbage headlining, and now it's Noel's
Yeah,
turn, and he goes and bloody bomb scare. So imagine
tell you
you
what,
sat through all waiting for Noel, and then you didn't get to see him.
I would love that lineup to come here. I was always a big fan of Garbage back in the day.
Yeah,
Um, Definitely that'd be an awesome lineup over here. But there we go.
yeah. That would be cool. Here we go. Bomb threat cancels Noel Gallagher SPAC show. Let's have a look. The State Park Police, which has jurisdiction over the SPAC grounds, issued a statement Sunday morning saying New York State Police, City of Saratoga, blah, 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 responded to a bomb threat at Saratoga Performing Arts Center Saturday. Out of an abundance of caution, the concert was suspended at 9:40 p.m. Saturday and concert attendees were evacuated without incident. Canines completed a sweep of the venue after the crowd exited with negative results. Live Nation said the safety and security of our guest staff and performers is our utmost priority. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. So there you go. I reckon it was Liam. What do you think?
Well, things brothers would do and all that. I hope they reschedule the date though. But the problem is in America, it's so big. It's probably not as easy in the UK. You could go. It doesn't matter if you're in Leeds, go back down to London or whatever, is it? But in America, the travel distance is huge. But you'd hope that they'd reschedule it for the people who paid the money to see Noel, like you say.
But yeah, but I suppose that's the thing. If he's in Saratoga, well, it's like like when Liam had to reschedule a couple of gigs over here. Well, he lives in London. It's no big deal for him to pop up to Hull or Birmingham, wherever it is.
Yeah.
Whereas, for Noel to play, he's not going to go all the way to America just to play like Saratoga again, is he? So
No, it's not.
no.
It's not, especially with how it is with visas and stuff. With after Brexit stuff, they're all finding it difficult to tour abroad, aren't they? So
Yeah. So there you go. So that's the news there, and obviously Liam's played. But yeah, so we've sort of not very Oasis related, but yeah, it's been a hell of a week. Well, you saw Pulp first, right?
yeah, saw Pulp last week Saturday ago at Finsbury Park.
How was that?
Unreal. I mean, literally, it's gone into my top 10 gigs of all time.
Wow.
It was that good. I mean, yeah, I saw them there in '98 at the same venue at Finsbury Park with, I think Bernard Butler, Catatonia. It was a hell of a lineup. I can't remember who else was on there, but it was a really good lineup. But I think I was a bit too mashed, to be honest, to remember loads of it back then. But I was driving this time, so I probably appreciated it a bit more. But I mean, Jarvis, he's a hell of a frontman. He really is. And the stories he was telling, it was just magical. The only criticism is I really don't like Finsbury Park as a venue. Right. It's just too crammed. You're really shoved in, and we had a decent spot, but if you needed to get out, you were really struggling. I mean, as a venue, I'm not a massive fan of Finsbury Park, but Pulp were great. Wet Leg supported them, who were pretty good. They could have done with the sound up a bit more. Baxter Jury, interesting, shall we say? But yeah, it was just great. And I mean, I love Pulp. As you know, I'm a huge 90s music fan, and Pulp were a massive part of it. So seeing them after so long was brilliant.
Well, it's the obviously I didn't see them. I meant to get Pulp tickets. It's one of those things I didn't get around to. It's been a mad time for me personally this sort of last couple of months. Hence, like, been a bit quiet on the podcast front more than usual. But yeah, I did want to see them. One of the things I really appreciated when I saw the some of the photos and videos, Jarvis has shaved the beard off and he's got his hair like he had it in the 90s. He could have been 90s Jarvis. He's the
Yeah,
fella's like 60 years old.
it was unreal. We were chatting to a friend there, and he said, "You look at Jarvis, and he still looks like '90s Jarvis, where the rest of the band looks like accountants, sort of thing." But it was really cool. And when they started, they had like an old school like velvet theatre curtain across the front of the stage, and they had some sort of writing, almost like a PowerPoint presentation on the big screens, you know, saying this is our encore, this is how we do it, and all that sort of stuff. And it builds it up, and as all that screens up, you can hear the music for I Spy being played behind it. And then the curtains open and the band are there, and there's no Jarvis, and then Jarvis comes up through the floor, and it just kicks off. And then they just had the set list perfect, because they played I Spy, which is a brilliant song. Then it goes straight into Disco 2000.
Shoot to jail. And they said that when we do what we get married and never split up. Oh, we never did. Although I often thought of it. Oh, Deborah, do you recall? Your house was very small, with wood chip on the wall. When I came around to call, you didn't notice me.
Wow.
And then they went into Misshapes, another great one, and Something Changed. And then they threw in a couple of sort of, you know, deep cuts, and then it was just greatest hits, and it was just, yeah, it was fantastic. It really was. I absolutely loved it. It was such a good show. Such a good show.
Yeah, no, I'll have to try and check him out, because he's just so compelling, isn't he? And it's like so many bands, like when they're in between songs and they're talking and stuff, I just find it so annoying. I just think, like, there's no point. What are you doing? Like, because we can't respond. It's just way or whatever. But Jarvis in between songs is as entertaining as during the songs. Did he have many classics in between chat?
Yeah, he did, and it's got a voice. He's reading you a bedtime story. You know, he's just so eloquent with it, and soothing, and I loved something he said a couple of times was, you know, everybody's here saying it's, you know, you're coming to see Blur and we're the show, and he goes, but that's rubbish. You are the show, the audience, the show, because if you weren't here, this is just a band practice. And I thought that was a really cool way of sort of looking at it all. I've never sort of thought of that. But yeah, it was great, and the chat was great, and you know, they dedicated Misshapes to, you know, the LGBTQ plus crowd who it was Gay Parade, or you know, in Pride in London that day, and you know, so it was just perfect. I loved it. So
well, I can't argue with that. And then you had another one, not particularly Britpop, but you can touch on it. Oh, Bruce Springsteen. He's you remortgaged the house to get tickets for that, did you?
I remortgaged the house for all of them. I saw a post on Twitter earlier on saying people think I'm loaded going to these gigs, but I'm just irresponsible, and I think that sums it up probably, you know. But yeah, Bruce was great. I mean, I'm a lifelong Bruce fan. You know, I sort of hide it a little bit, but I was sort of, in my younger years, I was into like Bon Jovi and Bruce and all that sort of stuff before I sort of saw the light and got into Britpop and all that. But yeah, Bruce was great. I mean, it's amazing. I don't know how old, I think he's sort of mid-70s, and he literally went on stage and did 3 and a bit hours without stopping. There was no encore. It didn't go off for a break, and there was no, we talk about Jarvis having that talk in between the sets. There was nothing. I think Bruce spoke 2 times maximum during the whole thing.
Wow.
Every song just rolled straight into the next song and into the next song. And I mean, I was knackered watching it, let alone performing. My feet were killing me, and he just kept on going. And it again, fantastic show. But I've seen him a few times, so I knew what to expect. So although I loved it and enjoyed every second of it, it didn't for me have that wow factor of seeing him for the first time, or seeing them for the first time in 25 years or whatever it is. But yeah, I'd recommend anybody go see Bruce. He's a legend. So
yeah.
Well, one thing I would say though, supporting him, and this is probably going totally against everything on your podcast and stuff, but the Chicks supported him, who were the Dixie Chicks. They've obviously changed their name for
it's political, wasn't it?
Or whatever, yeah. So they supported them, and I've not really. Well, I have listened to the odd song on Spotify or whatever, but I certainly wouldn't go out of my way to listen to them. But they were fantastic live. They really were good. They were really good fun. Really good.
Yeah. No, I remember they went up in my estimation because they spoke out against George Bush, didn't they, 20 years ago or something?
Yeah.
And and I think because country is so kind of Republican and support the president, that then for them to be like, whoa, hold on a minute, we expect rock and rollers to be like that, but country artists you don't. And so I know they kind of got a bit disowned and their career went away after that, but fair enough. So it's people like that, I suppose, they're just so professional, aren't they? Just been doing it for so long. It might not be your cup of tea, but just to see really good people doing their thing. Amazing.
Exactly. You got to be open-minded. You can't be tunnel visioned on your music. There's always something, and I always find one of the joys is discovering new live music and whatever. It's great.
You know what? I remember, I haven't seen it for a while, so I don't know if I haven't been on social media as much or if you stopped doing it. But weren't you posting like a gig a day for ages, like these? And I was thinking, bloody hell, I haven't even seen that many. I actually was inspired by that. I started to do can I even get a list of every gig I've ever seen? But obviously then you get into like festivals and I saw that, I probably saw like 3 songs of that person in a tent, but I was quite drunk, I can't remember, and so that was fun. But you've seen a hell of a lot of gigs.
I got drunk on New Year's Eve in the pub, and someone said, "Oh, you should write this list." And I thought, "Oh yeah, I'll be able to do that, piece of piss," sort of thing. And then I started writing on the notepad, and I got down to the first 200 pretty easy. And then I was really struggling, and I had to use, setlist.com to remind me to see who I might have seen support things, and then making sure I actually would have seen them and whatever. But it's great fun. But the problem is life and everything. I was just struggling to keep on top of doing it every day. So I was sort of falling a couple of days behind, and I'm going to repost. So in the end, I just thought, I can't do this for a whole year. So I just published the whole list of all the ones I'd seen, sort of thing. But I'm lucky. I've seen a lot of bands, and it's what I love. I said to someone the other day, football and music, apart from the kids and the family, that's my life.
Well, forget the kids and the family, football and music, that's it.
Well, that's it.
They might bugger off.
Wife's downstairs, she's here.
Wife and kids might leave you, for football and music won't.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I'll so then we had Blur this weekend. So I was there on Saturday. So and Blur at Wembley. So I didn't end up seeing any of the support. We had a mad day in London. We had a couple of other things to run around and do family-wise, and then went to Box Park, which I haven't been to before, just on Wembley Way. And that was really cool in there. There's a couple of DJs and they were sort of just playing kind of Britpop and indie hits and stuff. And it was just so great to see everyone just singing and dancing, and just so everyone was so up for it. Such a wide and varied crowd. A lot of older people, and like older than our generation. And you sort of think, oh, cool, well, they were around from like 90. You know what I mean? So actually, a lot of the people, you know, like I've got older brother who's wouldn't be bothered about seeing a lot of the Britpop bands because that was before his time, but he'd go and see Blur. You know what I mean? I think there is that sort of crossover appeal with the previous generation that maybe, you know, Ocean Colour Scene or Cast or the mid 90s and onwards bands don't have. So I was impressed to see such a older crowd and then a lot of younger people in there, and obviously people with kids and stuff. And I wondered, so is this going to be quite a sort of a beard scratchy, nod your head type gig, you know? And so we were at Wembley. I was up in the stand. I was like to the side, you know, decent seats, decent view. You know, I could make out the fact that Graham Coxon had turn-ups on the bottom of his, you know, on his jeans. So is that sort of, you know, how you can judge it? And I was absolutely blown away. I was absolutely blown away. I'd say it's one of my same as you said about Pulp. It was one of my top 10 best gigs of all time. It was so emotional, and I was wondering like what it was, and it was I didn't see them in the 90s. I don't know why really. It's one of those things because I was always a Blur fan. Yeah, Oasis, Blur, whatever. But I was always a massive Blur fan, and I never got around seeing them in the 90s, and it was only then I saw them in 2009 at Hyde Park, and I really enjoyed it. I don't remember a huge amount about it, but I know I wasn't as blown away and moved as I was at this one. And yeah, and I think it was like, I compare it to sort of, you know, when you see Liam or Noel now, when they start playing a song, I just suppose because we've just seen them over and over again over the years. And so when you first hear like Liam comes on and you hear that wah, 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 of it's cool and you get excited because here comes Morning Glory, but I've seen it loads of times and I know what it's going to be. And also the guy playing the guitar isn't the guy that played the guitar on the record. It's like one of the Liam blokes. And so you don't get that. Whereas seeing Blur, like when they just started, even things like Beetle Bum, you know, Beetle Bum's like not a massive song for me. I remember I thought it was really good when it's not one I put on playlists and stuff, but then you just heard that like, and I was just like, oh, fuck, this is, you know, and I really had that really visceral reaction when those songs are starting. And you know what I think it is? I was thinking about it. Why did it mean so much? And it's because I think it's going to get a bit wanky and poetic. Apologies. But I think that those individual players in Blur, the four of them, the way that they play or the things they do are so much an aspect of their personality. It really is. Like, you know, people have got a dog and it looks like them or whatever. Graham Coxon, when he plays the guitar or when he adds the guitar, he's like a weird kind of scribbly little guy. And his guitar lines are weird, scribbly, scratchy little guitar lines. But it's like, it's such a part of his personality. And so Damon, obviously, sort of this halfway between a punk and a romantic and a bother boy and an art school student. He's sort of in this weird mishmash of something in between, and he comes up with these sometimes beautiful songs or sometimes like weird songs, and then he hands them over to Graham, and Graham just scrack over the top of them, and it's just this perfect combination. And then you got Alex, bless him, he's a lovely lollopy nice chap, and he plays lovely lollopy nice bass lines. And then obviously Dave's is just a solid geezer, and he plays solid drums. And so you just go like, I just love it. I love to hear Alex's bass lines because it's just an expression of him. So yeah, hearing those individual songs and those players, and they just look so moved and emotional on stage, and not having heard the songs, not knowing what they were going to play. I hadn't memorized the set list. I had, which I often do. And so every time they came into me, it was like, I love this one. It really hit me like a thunderbolt. And the big one for me was End of a Century. That was the one when, that's one of my favorite songs, you know, and there's that line, we wear the same clothes because we feel the same. And you go, yes, that's what Britpop was. We wear the same clothes because we feel the same. Boys and girls all wearing Fred Perry's jeans, trainers. We wear the same clothes because we feel. And I was just like, yeah, I'm with my people. This is just magical.
Yeah, so I went on the Sunday and I missed the selector. I saw Weller, and Weller did what Weller does best, and he was decent. And then again, like you, I didn't know what Blur were going to do, and obviously they opened St Charles Square. And I think both the new singles that I've heard with Blur are brilliant. I really like them, and I suppose the thing with Blur compared to like Oasis and things is, every album they did was different, wasn't it? So when they come in and they play, you know, they played There's No Other Way, which is that lovely jangly guitars, and, you know, had that sort of baggy sound, and they play that and it's great. And then they go straight into Pop Scene, which is just, I don't know, what is it, 4 minutes of just craziness, isn't it? And then they go into like Tracy Jacks, you know, and that's a bit more of the cheaper chirpy sort of side of it. And yeah, I just thought they were great, and you could see that they were enjoying it, and they look like a group of mates who actually get on with each other, and you could see what it was at one point. You know, Damon was burst into tears, feel like it was for show, and I don't know if he did it on the first day, but he started bawling his eyes out at one point, and that was after Under the Westway, I think it was. And yeah, I thought they were brilliant, and I just forgot how heavy they are actually live compared to the albums. Because I saw them in, first time I saw them in 95, Wembley Arena. So it was the last night of the Great Escape tour. And I remember Phil Danielson came on with Damon in drag for the encore. I saw them in Glastonbury, I think, in 98, but then I haven't seen them since. And the crowd were up for song 2 and Girls Boys, and then you just had the beautiful moments, like, I mean, Tender was for me was the song of the night. Yeah, the London Community Gospel Choir were there, and I just thought that was magical. That whole song was just brilliant. I just thought the whole thing was amazing. And with them bringing out a new album later this month, I'm just really hoping they do a proper tour with some smaller shows and everything. That's what I'm really hoping for now.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. I'm looking forward to the album. Like you commented there about the couple of songs, I wasn't too bothered when I first heard The Narcissist, and I think it's just weird. Like, I was thinking, well, what's the sort of the point of Blur now? Damon has done so much, whether it's under his own name, under Gorillaz, under these various projects he's done over the years. I was like, well, what's the point of Blur? And then Graham comes in with his like My Echo, and it was like I was like, okay, so that's like, oh, Graham, just say a couple of words on this, then it will make it feel like Blur and not like a Gorillaz song. But then actually that has really grown on me over the weeks, and I do really like it now. And then that St. Peter Square or whatever, when it's like, I fucked up, and it's got that kind of crunchy guitars like David Bowie sort of, like late 70s Bowie, or like Syd Barrett-y sort of Pink Floyd era, that's just sort of weirdness that Blur always had. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. It's really good to have them back to it.
Don't believe, from what I've been reading and hearing, that they were planning to do an album, and it sort of just happened.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good, because if you're sort of forced to write an album, you can feel that it's forced, and it just, yeah, if it comes about naturally, it usually a better album. So from what I've heard, I'm really, really excited about the album, and hopefully they'll do more, because it's just so nice seeing them back and playing live. And I was with a friend in the gig, and they were saying that it was only a few years ago during lockdown, you didn't think these sort of gigs would happen again. And we're all there, we're all with our mates, and you can see everybody smiling, everybody's happy, and it's just great. You look back at those moments and it feels a long time ago again now, and yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. And just hopefully next year, I reckon the Oasis thing's on the cards. Fingers crossed. It's going to happen. The next year or two, it's going to happen. I'm positive of it.
Well, all right. Well, let's talk about that, shall we? The first thing the last thing to say about Blur, I did see someone criticize on I think it was on Discord. They sort of said, well, there wasn't like much of a show. Like, and even compared to Pulp, like Pulp, had a string section and put on a proper show. And did it feel lacking because of that? I mean, I wasn't sort of staring at it straight on because I was up at the side. And so I couldn't, I could see the screens, but obviously I could tell there wasn't much of a show. I mean, the only sort of elements of show is, I suppose, that Phil Daniels came on, which was great. Good to see Phil. And Damon wore his like Sherlock Holmes hat for Country House, which was good. And then he got the Fila tracksuit top on for Girls and Boys, and then he wore it for the rest of the encore as well, which was cool. I was like, oh, Damon's wearing the Fila tracksuit top. So yeah, so there wasn't like a show, but I didn't think it lacked. I didn't think it needed a show.
I mean, I didn't even notice it till someone that person said that there weren't a show, and quite frankly, I wasn't expecting to go see Pink Floyd or someone like we took my daughter to see Pink the other week, and that's a show or something like that. At the end of the day, I was expecting Blur, and I don't know how you do put on a show for that. It's just rock and roll, isn't it? At the end of the day, when I've seen the Rolling Stones in the past and stuff, there's no show there really. It's just them playing live with a big screen and getting on with it. It was exactly the same with Bruce Springsteen. There was nothing of Bruce Springsteen. The back of the stage was just a big screen. So I don't know. I wasn't expecting anything except to see, you see a bit of lights and this and that. Disco ball was pretty cool and all that, but I wasn't expecting anything, to be honest. I don't think it detracted at all for me. I mean, everybody's different, and I appreciate everybody's view, and they might have expected that, fair play, but I wasn't expecting anything, to be honest.
And looking down at the crowd, like, I've never seen a crowd like it, where it was busy, like all the way to the back. It was busy, and they were jumping up and down, like at the jumpy moments, like your Song 2s and Park Life and things like that. They were literally jumping up and down all the way to the back. And this is old buggers, like us and older. And I was like, you don't tend to see that. You tend to see pockets. Even seeing Liam, what tends to happen is the first 30 seconds of a song will kick in and everyone goes mad and goes da, 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 along to the riff. But then after that, people calm down and they just watch the show and they watch the song and they sing along really loudly, which is annoying because you're like, shut up, I want to hear Liam. But like, it wasn't like everyone was jumping up and down. I'm looking down on it like, I can't believe this. Like the last time I remember seeing that was seeing the Pogues. You know, the Pogues would always get everyone jumping up and down. But yeah, I was amazed by that crowd reaction. And yeah, it was incredible.
I think if it was Oasis, personally, I think the Oasis crowd and the Liam crowd would probably be slightly different, and I think you would get that. Especially, I think you're taking up. If you're seeing Liam, it's great, but if you're seeing Oasis or Blur and it's the actual band, that you have that extra adrenaline, and you release it, and you sort of go a bit more mad for it, I think.
Yeah,
but who knows till they do or they don't. Well, they might not reform, but you know, I think, for example, you know, Weller was there and it was pretty sedate. That you see the odd pocket jumping up, you know, for that's entertainment or something. But I'm telling you, if that was the Jam in there and you've got people in there, what, 60s, 70s probably dancing along for it, I can guarantee that'd be a mosh to the back of the stadium.
Yeah,
because it's the Jam, isn't it?
Yeah, whereas you wouldn't get it with Weller. It's that extra level of
you wouldn't get
excitement. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. But yeah, I mean, okay, let's talk about the latest. It's gone a bit quiet, to be fair. We had that Noel kind of sort of publicity tour when we were getting every interview as, you know, there'd be something else, and then Liam would come back on Twitter, and then we had all a bit of that going on. It's gone a little bit quiet on that front. But as you've brought it up, go on. So I think, because I suppose that you've got Noel who's going to be touring this album, Liam will probably do another album and tour that, and then 2025 would then be like the potential for the summer after.
I mean, I've heard similar sort of things, you know, that it's gonna happen, but it's all Chinese whispers, isn't it? But I just feel that Noel's doing his stuff, Liam's doing it. Although I feel the aggro between them, it feels a little bit more staged and not as heated. And I don't know, I think there's a bit of me thinking, you know, Noel's playing arenas, isn't he, when he's playing his own stuff?
Yeah.
Liam's doing Nebworth and things, and I just wonder if there's a bit of Noel thinking, hold on, it's time to rein it in now, and it's show who's boss sort of thing, if that's what you think, or, you know, that's probably the wrong way of putting it, but I just think he's probably thinking it's about time. But then the other side of me, you know, he's great mates with Weller, isn't it? And he always says, Weller says, don't reform, I'll never reform the Jam, etc. So I don't know, I just think it will happen. I genuinely think it will happen. If I want it to happen, it's a different thing, and then you get into who's going to be in the band, and it gets quite complicated. It's not as easy as Blur, is it? Where you've got, you know, 4 guys who've been there since the start to the end. I know Graham Coxon disappeared for an album or so, but as a whole, it's the same band. Whereas Oasis could get a little bit complicated. Would you bring in, you know, would Bonehead play the first few albums and Gem come out after, or it'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it is. I don't think that'd be a massive issue, to be honest. And I don't think in terms of selling the tickets, people would be like, if Liam and Noel are there, then they'll come. You know, I don't think well, Bonehead's not there, I'm not coming, you know.
Life's got very busy, so we're just having a bit of a break. We're looking at how to go forward. You know, we put on a couple of shows and whatever, and hopefully we'll be putting on a few more gigs and whatever, and then hopefully we'll get the writing side of it back up in some way or other. Cool. That's what we all love doing. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, yeah, I always loved it. It was always fantastic to check it out. So yeah, hopefully that'll be back. And yeah, all right. Well, where can the kids find you online?
They can just search Speakeasy Fanzine on all the socials. Yeah, basically that's about it.
So thank you very much to Chris for coming on. Fantastic as ever. Great to catch up with him. And make sure if you are able to head to Speakeasy on the social media, Speakeasy Zine, and check out Big Cartel. You can go and order the old back issues of Speakeasy, and it's definitely worth getting hold of. So go and check them out. And I dropped in there a little snippet of Open the Door, See What You Find, recorded live on Jules, which is now aired in the real world. Obviously, we had a review of it when it was actually live and happened from Remy, and he did a fantastic job telling us all about the whole day and everything. So don't need to do a huge amount. Don't need to talk about it a huge amount, to be honest, but just to say I did really enjoy it. I thought it was just great. I love the current setup of the band. I loved having the strings there. I think that made a big difference, especially on tracks like Going Nowhere. It was great to hear Going Nowhere again. I think Noel's voice was perfect for it. I really enjoyed the kind of the setup that they had there with the band. Yeah, it's different. It's not the same as the Oasis original version, but I thought it worked really well with the band. So let's have a little clip of that.
Different versions of many men that come before you came. And all the questions were similar, the answer's just the same. Gonna get me a motor car, maybe a Jaguar, maybe a plane on a day off. Wanna be a millionaire, so can you take me there? Wanna be wild, 'cause my life's so tame. Here am I, going nowhere on a train.
I thought the album tracks worked really well, especially the sort of upbeat ones. So Open the Door, See What You Find, I thought was great. And Love is a Rich Man, I thought was great. That sort of soulfulness with the strings and with the backing singers and everything. I just thought it really suited the sound. Less so Pretty Boy, as we said, not a massive fan of that one. So wasn't too bothered about that one, really. Dead in the Water, always good to hear. Didn't really jump out, though. And I was just mainly disappointed he didn't play Dead to the World. You know, that's such an amazing song. And it would be great to hear that live. So maybe if it's a bit too raw and he won't play it, but it would be great to hear that one live. And then the Joy Division cover thought was a bit unnecessary, to be fair. I didn't particularly like it. I haven't heard the few versions he's done of it. I think I talked about it before, but for me, that's such a specific song. It's such a specific sound. You've got to have that kind of post-punky sort of darkness about it. And I don't think Noel's sort of current band does sort of post-punky darkness, so it's not really the right fit. And I see he's actually been dropped it from his set now in America, which sort of makes sense. But yeah, it was great to see him. It's nice that, you know, he got to do that whole thing and tell the Keith Richards story again. But there we go. All right, speaking of Noel Live, we have a review of Noel Live from Stuart Hatton. No relation to Ricky, I don't believe.
Hi, James. Hi, Oasis Podcast. This is Stuart. I'm a long-time listener, but infrequent contributor, except for the occasional line here or there on the Discord. I just saw Noel last night, and you're always going on about sending in gig reviews, so I thought I'd send one in. It was Noel and Garbage is the tour that's going on right now. The venue, I saw him in Chicago. The venue is could hold about 20,000 people, and it was 2/3 full, maybe even a little less than that. I've seen some stuff online about other shows not being very full. It was also a Tuesday night here before a long holiday weekend, so it's hard to get people to do something, spend their money before a holiday weekend, I guess. And for those that don't know, there's been wildfires in Canada for a couple of weeks now, and the air quality, smoke is drifting across the Midwestern U.S. and the Eastern U.S., and so it's affecting our air quality. it's been hazy in Chicago for weeks, but the night of the gig was the absolute worst it's been. I saw after the fact that that night of the gig was Chicago was had the worst air quality in the world of all major cities. The Chicago skyline's a beautiful, like, architectural, awesome thing to like appreciate. So I like looking at the skyline every time I'm in the city, because it's just really a lot of cool, like, beautiful high rises with great architecture. And so it's a thing that I pay attention to. And from where we were, because the venue was outside, you could literally see absolutely none of the skyline. You just could not see anything, and it was right in the middle of the city, so you should have been able to see a lot of the high rises. So my point is, lots of factors. I'm sure there's people that didn't go out because of the weather. I don't know. It was, like I said, maybe two-thirds full, which feels, maybe they just got the venue size wrong. I don't know, but overall, I thought the gig was great. Garbage was solid. I'm not a huge Garbage fan. I had their first two albums ages ago. They had a shortened set. Shirley Manson said because she has asthma, so they were shortening their set so that she could, so that it didn't become dangerous for her to be out there. But the band sounded great, and Shirley's voice sounded awesome. So it was an enjoyable watch. They played a short set, so it amounted to pretty much a greatest hits, which was for a casual Garbage fan, I think, was sufficient. Then Noel and the gang came out. Same lineup as last tour, except with a couple of exceptions. He's got 3 female backup singers that did great work on kind of carrying the melody and the background vocals and on the newer songs, but also were out there for a couple of the older songs and Oasis songs too. There's also another keyboard player kind of standing behind Mikey and Gem. My assumption is that he was doing a lot of the extra instrumentation and all the stuff that they added to Council Skies that you can't really tour with, so that he was kind of working in the background, adding in those noises. It was kind of hard to tell from where I was exactly when he was what he was doing. The only thing that I really caught was during What a Life. He was playing the low end piano while Mikey was doing the high end melody part. But he was out there, so I thought he was just going to be for the songs from Council Skies, but he was out there the entire time. So I'm not sure exactly what he's doing on the older stuff. But the gig itself was great. Started with 5 songs of Council Skies, Pretty Boy, Council Skies, We're Gonna Get There in the End, Open the Door, and Easy Now, and all of those sounded awesome live. They really translated well. I think if you were kind of on the fence about those songs beforehand, hearing them live probably makes it come together a little better. But really great with the backing vocals, and those songs like really were awesome. It was a good way to start the gig. Moved on to In the Heat of the Moment and What a Life. What a Life felt kind of fast to me, but still it was a fun jam and we had a good time. Then he shifted to the back half of the set to Oasis songs, and it was really fun to see Going Nowhere for the first time ever. And of course, the crowd really came alive. I think the crowd was mostly Noel heavy. It seemed they were a little bit more into it after when Noel was on rather than when Garbage was on. So it really came alive for Master Plan and Half the World Away and Little by Little, and those were those are great songs to sing along to, and nobody's going to complain when he plays those.
Take the time to make some sense. What you want to say, cast your words away from the face. Sail them home and back from the shivers of today. As they land upon the shore, tell them not to fear no more. Sing it loud, sing it proud today.
Live Forever was great. The slower, like acoustic version, it just sounded awesome. And Gem really, his guitar solo on it sounded great. And it was also great to see Noel play the solo and Don't Look Back in Anger. He nailed it this time, so it was fun to see that again. But overall, honestly, the band was just incredibly tight. They played together really well. You know, that they've been playing together for a long time, so they worked together really well. The song sounded good. The band sounded great, and Noel, his voice sounds great. You know, for being a 50-some-year-old, he was hitting the high notes. He was holding notes. My wife that was with me, who is not, she's into it because I'm into it. She doesn't really pay attention to the music too much. Even commented that she was really impressed by how his voice was. So all in all, like, it was great. It was a good show. They were on the money, and honestly, I feel lucky that after all these years, Noel is still making interesting music and touring with an awesome band to watch. So that, you know, I've been listening to Oasis since I was 9, and so just to be, you know, in my late 30s and be able to still see Noel playing in peak form, I just feel super lucky, and so I'm glad we got to experience it. I hope this wasn't the last time he comes to the U.S. He, you know, on previous albums, he's done his own headline tour where he's played like 2,000-3,000 seat theaters. So hopefully we get to see him again next year, because it's a good show, and I, you know, I would look forward to seeing him again really soon. All right, cheers, thanks guys.
So thank you, Stuart. Pleased you enjoyed the gig, mate. Brilliant stuff. And Stuart is a patron and is an active member of the Discord. So yeah, well done for making your debut on the Oasis podcast. Also, if you weren't aware, Noel Gallagher is back on the Matt Morgan podcast. They've done, having disappeared for months following the sort of the Glastonbury kind of controversy last year. People from The Sun and various places were kind of sniffing around and finding little stories of Noel, and obviously Noel and Matt say some pretty outrageous things on there. And so the fact that they kept picking out sort of certain things that they'd said over the years, and so Matt pulled all the episodes and he was gradually uploading them over the last few weeks, and they're all back up now, I believe. And Noel's been back on while he's been over in America, obviously a bit bored, sitting in hotel rooms, so he's been calling into Matt and recording a few episodes, which has been good fun. I checked out the most recent one because there was actually an Oasis quiz. And so coming next episode, I think what I'm going to do, because I didn't really listen to the quiz in full, I was just really listening out for whether or not I'd be mentioned, because when I heard about this sort of quiz thing, I actually dropped Matt Morgan a message. Now, I don't have his phone or anything. I'm a patron of the Matt Morgan podcast, so you can message via Patreon. And I dropped him a message saying, well, would Noel want to do the 1 second Oasis song quiz that I uploaded to YouTube a while ago? I'll drop a link to it if you're not aware of it. I think I have dropped it in the podcast before, but yeah, I just put it together so it's like plays a 1 second clip of multiple songs, and so you can just try and guess them. And I did ping that to Matt, and he dropped me a message back, sort of asking me to send it in a different format or whatever. But so Noel could open it on his phone. And so I was quite excited to be checking out the episode. I sort of scooted through it, sort of not really listening properly. Got to all the way through this quiz section, and he didn't mention it, so that was a shame. But that was a bit of a shame. But anyway, it was understandable, because I think it might have been quite tricky to then get Noel to play it and then record it. How would that work? So it'd be quite difficult. But you never know. We might get another mention. We've had a couple of mentions on Matt Morgan with Noel in attendance. Thanks to Ryan Harvey. Right, that will do it then for today. Oh, just to say I think what I'm going to do, because of those quiz questions were sort of quite fun, those Oasis quiz questions, I'm going to have a go myself. And so I think coming up shortly will be me kind of attempting those Oasis quiz questions and see if I do better than Noel. So that will be good fun. Anyway, that will do it for today. Thank you very much for listening to the Oasis podcast. Most of all, thanks go to our patrons. You put your money where your mouth is. It's greatly appreciated. You can become a patron at patreon.com/OasisPod, which is where we post bonus episodes. Episodes go up early. You can qualify for free gifts, and it's all... And the Discord. The Discord's really good. So if you're on Patreon and you haven't got a link to the Discord, drop me a message. I'll ping you a link. And if you sign up, obviously make sure you do drop me a message so I remember to ping you a link. All right, that will do it for today. Thank you very much.